Hi guys, Tom here, and in this video I want to introduce you the Enola Gay, the Boeing B-29 Superfortress bomber which dropped the first atomic bomb, and its pilot, Colonel Paul Tibbets. If you want more information, check the sources in the description and my other videos related to the atomic bomb on the playlist above. And if you like military history, please consider to subscribe to my channel. The Enola Gay is a Boeing B-29 Superfortress bomber named after Enola Gay Tibbets, the mother of the pilot Colonel Paul Tibbets. On the 6th of August 1945, during the final stage of World War II, it became the first aircraft to drop an atomic bomb. The bomb, codenamed Little Boy, was targeted at the city of Hiroshima, Japan, and caused a near-complete destruction of the city. Enola Gay participated in the second atomic attack as the weather reconnaissance aircraft for the primary target of Kokura, but clouds and smoke resulted in a secondary target, Nagasaki, being bombed instead. The Enola Gay model number B-2945MO was built by the Glenn L. Martin Company at its Nebraska plant. The bomber was one of the 15 initial examples of B-29s built to the silver plate specification, giving them the primary ability to function as nuclear weapon delivery aircraft. These modifications included an extensively modified bomb bay with pneumatic doors and British bomb attachment and release systems, improved engines with fuel injection and better cooling, and the removal of the protective armor and the gun turrets. Enola Gay was personally selected by Colonel Paul Tibbets, the commander of the 509th Composite Group, on 9th of May 1945, while still on the assembly line. And now a few words about Paul Tibbets. He was enlisted in the United States Army in 1937 and qualified as a pilot in 1938. After the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, he flew anti-submarine patrols over the Atlantic. In February 1942, he became the commanding officer of the 340th Bombardment Squadron of the 197th Bombardment Group, which was equipped with Boeing B-17. In July 1942, the 97th became the first heavy bombardment group to be deployed as part of the 8th Air Force, and Tibbets became deputy group commander. He flew the late plane in the first American daylight heavy bomber mission against occupied Europe on the 17th of August 1942 and the first American raid of more than 100 bombers in Europe on the 9th of October 1942. After flying 45 combat missions, he became the assistant for bomber operations on the staff of the 12th Air Force. Tibbets returned to the United States in February 1943 to help with the development of the Boeing B-29 Superfortress. In September 1944, he was appointed the commander of the 509th Composite Group, which would conduct the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. After the war, he participated in Operation Crossroads nuclear weapon test at Bikini Atoll in mid-1946 and was involved in the development of the Boeing B-47 Stratojet in the early 1950s. He commanded the 308th Bombardment Wing of the 6th Air Division in the late 1950s and was military attaché in India from 1964 to 1966. After leaving the Air Force in 1966, he worked for Executive Jet Aviation, serving as the founding board and as its president from 1976 until his retirement in 1987. And now back to Enola Gay. The aircraft left for Guam, where it received a bomb bay modification and flew to Northfield, Tinian on 6th of July. During July, the bomber made 8 training flights and flew 2 missions on 24th and 26th July to drop pumpkin bombs on industrial targets at Kobe and Nagoya. Enola Gay was used on 31st of July on a rehearsal flight for the actual mission. The partially assembled little boy gun-type fission weapon was contained inside a wooden crate that was secured to the deck of the USS Indianapolis. Unlike the 6 uranium-235 target discs, which were later flown to Tinian on 3 separate aircrafts, arriving on the 28th and 29th of July. And now let me introduce the Hiroshima mission. On 5th of August 1945, during preparation for the first atomic mission, Tibbets assumed command of the aircraft and named it after his mother, Enola Gay Tibbets. When it came to selecting a name for the plane, Tibbets later recalled that my thoughts turned at this point to my courageous, red-haired mother, whose quiet confidence had been a source of strength to me since boyhood, and particularly during the soul-searching period when I decided to give up a medical career to become a military pilot. At a time when Dad had thought I had lost my marbles, she had taken my side and said, "I know you will be all right, son." The name was painted on the aircraft on the 5th of August by Alan L. Carl, an enlisted man in the 509th. Regularly assigned aircraft commander Robert Lewis was unhappy to be displaced by Tibbets for this important mission, and became furious when he arrived at the aircraft on the morning of 6th of August to see it painted with a now famous nose art. Hiroshima was the primary target for the first nuclear bombing mission on 6th of August, with Kokura and Nagasaki as alternative targets. Enola Gay, piloted by Tibbets, took off from Northfield in the Northern Mariana Islands, and about 6 hours flight time from Japan, accompanied by 2 other B-29th, the great artist carrying instruments, and the then nameless aircraft, later called the Necessary Evil, to take photographs. The director of the Manhattan Project, Major General Leslie L. Groves, wanted the event recorded for posterity, so the takeoff was illuminated by floodlights. When he wanted to taxi, Tibbets leaned out of the window to direct the bystanders out of the way. On request, he gave a friendly wave for the cameras. After leaving Tinian, the aircraft made their way separately to Iwo Jima, where they rendezvoused and set course to Japan. The aircraft arrived over the target in clear visibility at 9,855 meters. The release at 8:15 Hiroshima time went as planned, and the little boy took 43 seconds to fall from the aircraft at 9,470 meters to the predetermined detonation height about 600 meters above the city. Enola Gay traveled 18 kilometers before it felt the shock wave from the blast. The detonation created a blast equivalent to 16 kilotons of TNT. The radius of total destruction was about 1 mile, with resulting fires across 11 square kilometers. Americans estimated that 12 square kilometers of the city were destroyed. Japanese officials determined that 69% of Hiroshima's buildings were destroyed and another 7% damaged. Some 70 to 80,000 people, 30% of the city's population, were killed by the blast and resultant firestorm, and another 70,000 injured. Out of those killed, only 20,000 were soldiers. Enola Gay returned safely to its base on Tinian to great fanfare, touching down at 2:58 p.m. after 12 hours and 13 minutes. Several hundred people, including journalists and photographers, had gathered to watch the plane's return. Tibbets was the first to be disembarked and was presented with the Distinguished Service Cross on the spot. And now let me introduce its Nagasaki mission. The Hiroshima mission was followed by another atomic strike. Originally scheduled for 11th of August, it was brought forward by 2 days to the 9th of August owing to the forecast of bad weather. This time the Fat Man nuclear weapon was carried by B-29 boxcar piloted by Major Charles W. Sweeney. Enola Gay was the weather reconnaissance aircraft for Kokura, the primary target. Enola Gay reported clear skies over Kokura, but by the time Boxcar arrived, the city was obscured by smoke from fires from the conventional bombing by 224 B-29 the day before. After 3 unsuccessful passes, Boxcar diverted to its secondary target, Nagasaki, where it dropped its bomb. In the 1980s, veterans group engaged in a call for the Smithsonian to put the aircraft on display, leading to a debate about exhibiting the aircraft without the proper historical context. The cockpit and the nose section of the aircraft were exhibited at the National Air and Space Museum in downtown Washington, D.C. for the bombing's 50th anniversary in 1995 amid controversy. Since 2003, the entire restored B-29 was being displayed at National Air and Space Museum. The last survivor of its crew, Theodore van Kirk, died in 2014 at the age of 93. Guys, thank you for the attention. See you in the next video.